Good morning everyone. Today I will be presenting to you a brief overview of Newton's laws of motion and how they can be applied to real-life situations. We will be discussing the ways in which forces act upon an object and how those forces can affect its motion. I look forward to exploring this fascinating topic with you. We will discuss Newton's laws of motion from the viewpoint of science, delving into the basics of the three laws and their application to real-life situations. We will explore how these laws explain the motion of all objects and enable us to make predictions about how objects will move. Additionally, we will examine the implications of these laws for our everyday lives. Newton's laws of motion are a fundamental of modern science. These laws explain how an object will behave when it is affected by forces, and form the basis for our comprehension of the mechanics of motion. The first law states that an object will stay still or move in a steady line unless a force external to it acts upon it. The second law states that the rate of momentum change of an object is directly proportional to the force applied on it, with the two proceeding in the same direction. Lastly, the third law states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. By utilizing these laws, we can make sense of situations such as a baseball player throwing a ball and gain a better appreciation of the behavior of objects in the real world. An object in motion or at rest will remain in the same speed and in the same direction, unless a balanced or unbalanced force is exerted, is known as the first law of motion or the law of inertia. Examples of this law in everyday life can be seen, for instance, when a snowboarder glides on ice and continues moving with the same speed and direction until an unbalanced force, such as friction or an external force, affects it. When it comes to understanding external forces in motion, basketball provides an example of Newton's laws of motion. A player throwing or pushing the ball applies an external force on it, which is reacted to by the ball's behavior, such as bouncing back up after hitting the ground. Examining the laws of motion helps to understand why and how this occurs. Newton's second law states that the force of an impact or throw is directly proportional to the mass and acceleration of the object. In other words, the greater the force applied to an object, the greater its acceleration will be. However, the heavier the object, the slower its acceleration will be. This can be seen in examples from a baseball player swinging a bat to an astronaut pushing off a spaceship. To gain a better understanding of this law, let's explore it in more depth. The laws of motion can be used to explain how a quarterback throws a football. According to Newton's first law, an object in motion will remain in motion unless something else acts upon it. This means the football will continue in the direction it was thrown unless something else stops it. Newton's second law states that force is equal to the mass of an object multiplied by its acceleration. This means the force of the throw is proportional to the mass of the ball and the speed it is thrown at. Both of these laws demonstrate how a quarterback can accurately throw a football. According to Newton's third law of motion, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. An example of this can be seen when a skier is pushing against the snow with their skis. The snow will push back on the skis with the same force, which then propels the skier forward. This law has enabled humans to progress throughout history, since it explains how objects interact with each other in a physics sense. The statement of Newton's third law of motion, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, can be seen in the example of an ice track skater pushing their foot backwards on the ice, where the ice exerts an equal and opposite force forwards on their foot. Taking this into consideration, the company is looking ahead to capitalize on its successes and grow its business in the coming year. Sports and activities such as soccer and long jumping can help us understand Newton's laws of motion better. When a soccer player kicks a ball, they are applying the third law of motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. In the case of a long jumper, the principles of inertia and momentum are used to propel them forward and result in the longest possible jump. The real-world application of Newton's laws of motion can be seen while observing these everyday activities.